time runs really fast, and it's only 4 days away from Juneteenth. And sorry about the slightly late video announcement, but one of our teams in the International Year of Quantum Global Industry Challenge has made it to the finalist stage, namely our Novak team, which is by NeuroQuantum Nexus, which is a life science challenge provider. G'day everyone, this is Hamaki and Lee. Just a few more minutes. G'day mates, this is Hamaki Yang Lee, your International Quantum Years G'day mate, this is Hamaki Yang Lee, your Quantum Odyssey tour guide, and we're already in the middle of June, and it's only 4 days away from Juneteenth, and then a few more days away until the summer solstice, midsummer. And we have started this June with a great note. Namely, one of our teams for the International Year of Quantum Global Industry Challenge, which started in April, the middle of April, has advanced to the finalist stage. That means we get to use real machines, real quantum devices through Cubrate credits. Although unfortunately I'm not wearing a Cubrate t-shirt right now. Earlier today I wore the Cubrate t-shirt to work with my startup Unicom, which will be released on the Juneteenth as a soft launch. The team that made it to the NeuroQuantum Nexus, which is the team, will focus on analyzing higher order features of spiked neural circuits of the murine brain. And this is a challenge that we've made it to the finalist stage. Although unfortunately my other team did not advance. Although that is okay because I likely do not have the bandwidth to manage both teams. So I would say mission not aborted. The journey continues. The mission continues. That would be especially good news because it implies that I will be able to further the 50-day re-recordings and the live streams, the game live streams, for the remainder of June and July, especially that this is also the time where Romanian, partnered with Wiser, is releasing weekly video series on the impact of quantum computing and quantum computing tutorials. So this is our first announcement. Today, our main goal is to finish the first ring. So today, our mission 1 is ring 1. And of course, for ring 1, the live streams will be used as part of the re-recordings for the 50-day challenge. So they'll be used for 50-day re-recording. And secondly, expect further announcements. During the remainder of this week and July. So let's get into this and let's start the live stream. And the topic for the ring 1 will be, of course, the first 10 days. We've already finished the X gate. We will now deal with the Z gate, the H gate, the C gate. So the Z gate will be the next. We have the H gate, we have the C gate, we have the S gate, and then we have the Y gate. And as well as the challenge electrons. Let's check the Quantum Odyssey once again. So right now there still isn't like a recent patch, but Somatic Attack X, Vault breached, that's okay, that's not the focus for today. Okay, so now we see like there's branching paths. The first branch starts before we are introduced to the first gate formally. Namely, it is just the Forge inner workings, which is just one single puzzle, and then we have a beginner, and then suddenly it skips to medium. However, today we will take the easier path, the green path, the blue electrons, which will turn green after completing. Namely, we will start with the poly gate. Okay, let's go. So that's the Z gate. So that's going to be the Sage of Axioms, the blue sage. We did see the missing sage, which is the red one, and Paula Marie, which is featured again on the very initial branch. The bonus, the extra electron added at the very beginning of the game. This one, notice that the Z gate affects all the right lanes. So you want to bring the sigil on the left lane to the right lane. Now, as the sigil, that means the term passes through the red wire, the phase rotates by 180 degrees. That means positive to negative. Okay, now you want to send the sigil back to blue, but you are fixed with an X and a Z. how to do that? Apply the Z gate again. This also has the effect of cancelling out the Z gates. Red, blue. Now we have a 2-qubit system. You want to first send the single sigil from 0, 0 to 1, 1. So lane 0 to lane 3. You are fixed an X and a Z on the first qubit. So we have 0, 0 to 1, 0, and then it flips from blue to red. Now put an X on the qubit number 2, the ground qubit, and you have this. Because the rightmost lane is red, the sigil will end up as red. To turn it back into blue, you have to add a Z again. This rightmost lane is being subject to Z gates because it's the right lane for both the first qubit and the ground qubit, which has the overall effect of cancelling out. Now we have a 3-qubit system. So likewise, we have 0, 0, 0, and then we have an X and an Z applied to the second, the first qubits. Or like in the game conventions, qubit 1, qubit 2. So now we have 1, 1, 0. We need an X to bring on the first to bring it to the rightmost. So that's going to be lane number 111, which is just the 7th lane. And then you want to apply Z once more. And it will work because it's on the right lane. Now you have this pattern. Notice that whether the lanes that are blue or red depends on the number of ones in the lane numbers bit string. If it has an even number of ones, then it's being applied an even number of Z gates simultaneously, which equates to the identity. So 0, 3, which is 1, 1, 5, 6, which is 101 and 110. These have been applied to Z gates, so that equates to 0 because Z is its own inverse. Now we have 2 crisscrosses, a blue crisscross and red crisscross. This is possible because you are applying a Z and an X in parallel. Notice that if a sigil is on the right half, that means the first qubit is 1. It is being subject to the Z at the same time as it is being subject to the X, given the initial configurations. And then we have the I gates, which prevents you from putting gate there. Okay, so now you want to send the sigil that is sent from 0, 0 to 0, 1 on the blue half to 1, 1. To do that, you have to add an X on the first qubit. Now you want to apply a Z on the ground qubit. Notice that these 2 lanes are being affected by the red effect if the Z is placed on the ground qubit. So now you have a red X. And it is to be done in parallel. So now 2 electrons are unlocked. A challenge electron that follows immediately after the Z gate, and then we have the C gate, or the control operator. The control gate makes a qubit the master of its row it is placed on. So what does master really mean? It just means it is the control bit. So if the master gate, like let's say the master is awake, the other gates apply. If it is sleeping, that means it's on the left half. All the gates in that row, all of the other pairs, do nothing to the sigil. So output 0, 0. And this is important because, as you learn, it is one of the ingredients required to create entanglement. First, in this pattern, the X is fixed. But you can create like a form of asymmetry so that only one half is being subject to the X gate, namely the right half. The half where the master qubit, the first qubit, is awake. So the C gate is to be placed on the first qubit. Now, anything on the left hand side would skip that gate. Here's a slightly more complicated example, and you will see some Y's and S's. Okay, but this is nevertheless easy, so you may think like you can just add X's, but nope, it's not going to work this way. So the answer is you want the sigil to skip the 2 gates, and that still works if you add the C on the ground qubit. C on the ground qubit, and then because the sigil is on the left half in respect to both the first and the ground qubit, it skips all of the gates. Here is another example. This time, you want to skip. Okay, here's the thing. You want to avoid the phase changes. So, can you flip both qubits 1 and 3 given that the master is awake on the last row? Okay. So this one, it seems like you want to flip. Do you think this could work? So you could try making a Toffoli. But now you have to flip, and then you can then flip through the X's over there, and that works. It's not skipped because the middle qubit is awake. So 0, 1, 0 becomes 1, 1, 0. So now we have 2 pairs. Actually 2 quartets of lengths. These 2 are the right quartet, and these 2, the 0, 1, then 4, 5 are the left quartet. Only the right quartet is being applied the double X. The Hadamard gate. The Hadamard gate is considered the most important of the quantum gates because it allows the implementation of quantum algorithms as it relies on entanglement and superposition. It is the first time you will be introduced to additive and subtractive effects as well as differently sized qubits. So notice when a sigil, a blue sigil on the left passes through an H gate, it splits into two half-sized sigils. Their radii is 1 over root 2. So their areas still sum up to unity. But the H gate is also a combiner, and also a basis change once you realize the idea of basis. Okay, this is the next example. This is your first time you will be formally introduced to yin-yangs. The yin-yang of quantum, and that's... I actually suggested that, and the creator of the game has accepted my suggestion. The yin-yang of quantum. It's technically not a yin-yang. So blue and red cancel out, and now suddenly this is where quantum interference happens, when sigils combine, terms combine, which causes the uniquely quantum effect of interference. Now you will be introduced to imaginary uncomplex numbers. A complex number is any number that is of the form of a real component and then a real multiple of the imaginary unit. The imaginary unit is defined as the number whose square is -1. And it actually comes in two equivalent forms, which they are like negatives of each other. So, and the algebra is like this. Blue added with red cancels out, as demonstrated in the previous puzzle. But if there's blue and green, notice that they do not cancel out. It creates a oblique complex number. In this case, it points forward and above. We have a blue qubit sigil, that means it points forward, and then a green qubit sigil, which points up in the complex plane. If you add them together, notice that you create a diagonal complex number. And then this is its conjugate, which is blue and yellow. So now we are... So if you read over the tutorial, there's quantum phase and quantum interference. So open the circuit tool. Okay. Again, the H gate is also its own inverse. So blue-green, then forward up, forward and down. But if you add another H gate, here's the thing. The H gate is also its own inverse. These two merge together. Now, notice that the blues combine, but the green and yellows cancel out. On the right lane, merge to the right lane, the blues and reds cancel out, and then we have green. Okay, now let's continue the algorithm. The trio of HSH in series is actually called the SX gate, and it is the principal square root of the X gate. Here's a visual proof. The H's cancel out. Now two S's equal a Z. And then we have the minus state. The minus state, and you apply an H. Notice that on the left side we have blue and red, so these two cancel out. Now we have blue and blue, which constructively make up suddenly the area doubled to unity. So did the left side just teleport to the right side? Now we have a multi-H gate in parallel. Here is the fact. H gates are reversible. So you want to only split this as if you've only applied H on the last qubit, namely the ground qubit. So you can cancel these out by adding another H gate on qubit 1 and qubit 2. Whoa, I got 4. So after completing the H puzzle, you get a follow-up, and then there are 3 more branches. We'll continue with the main branch, the S gate, because we're dealing with the innermost ring, innermost orbital. The S gate functions very much like a Z gate. It is just a special form of the phase gate. But you will see a subtlety with it once you are introduced to the T gate, which is 1/2 of the S gate. We apply an S again to make it a Z. So imaginary, then negative. The imaginary unit, when multiplied, has the effect of rotating a number by 90 degrees. Now we are rotating around the argand plane. Okay, now we have a Z that's 2 S's and an S, just add another S. Red, gold, blue. Okay, this one definitely looks a bit more intimidating. But here is the thing. So this is 4 qubit system. The X part is the only gate that allows you to change lanes. So you can apply X's to qubit 3 and qubit 4. Now you have an S, but you are not allowed. Okay. We will deal with the... We will finish the first ring with the Y gate. We will finish the first orbital with the Y gate. This is the trickiest of the primary gates we'll learn because of the signs and the imaginary numbers. Think of it as an efficient combination of X, Z, and S all in once. The X performs the crisscross. The Zs state that the two lanes are oppositely colored, and the S has the effect of applying a global phase shift of so seeker here. Math is inevitable there. So this gate should be trivial for you now. That's just called the Y gate. It says it effectively combines X, S, and Z in a single operation. So here is how the Y gate works. So a blue qubit sigil on the left lane passing through the Y gate would advance its phase by 90 degrees, while a blue sigil on the right lane would go back in both phase and position. The Y gate is also its own inverse once again, as demonstrated by this. Green would go back to blue, both by color and by position. Now we are going to examine the behavior of the Y gate in parallel, which is trickier, but here the same idea applies. Notice that in the outer lanes, the sigil advances by 2, so that means it's, in this case, it's right and right. And because the Y gate also applies a phase shift at the same time, it becomes red. It goes straight from blue to red. On the inner lanes, we have the 0, 1 to 1, 0. That means there's no change in the number of zeros and ones. And likewise, there is no change in the phase. We apply a Y gate on qubit 1. Now, 3 of the qubit lanes switch from 0 to 1. That means you also advance the phase by 3/4, so blue to yellow. Likewise, for the lanes with an odd number of ones, 0, 1, then it becomes a 1, 1, 0. So it goes from a 1 ones bit string to a 2 ones bit string. So there's an extra 1. That means you advance 1 quarter turn counterclockwise. Now we do this again with 4 Ys in parallel. You are now performing a home run. So, as all 4 qubits flip, the sigil advances its direction by a full turn. So, all 360 degrees. Okay, we have now finished the first ring. That first and now we have 2 choices. Either to move on to the second orbital or to complete the challenge electrons, which are the smaller electrons in the descent map. G'day mates, this is Hamak Yingli, your Quantum Odyssey tour guide, and we are... G'day mates, this is Hamak Yingli, your Quantum Odyssey tour guide, and we just finished our first Orbital, the inner ring where we are introduced to the Quantum Odyssey game mechanics, and your elementary gates, namely the X, Z, H, C, S, and Y gate in order. Today, I will live stream the secondary smaller Electron nodes, which contains the challenge lessons, and these directly follow the main Electron after completing that main portion. So let's start with our game. So, Quantum Odyssey. It may take some time, but if you're an Aussie, it's already evening there. Okay, so we will start with descent. So this is our current solar system after completing the first orbital. So the initial three, let's call these the I electrons. These are to introduce you directly the game itself, and you will see X's, you will see Z's, maybe controls, I don't remember, Hadamard's, S's and Y's, even in these initial four. You will definitely see like more in the mechanics of the fracture. And the mechanics of the fracture itself has received an update. So, quantum logic is said to be like a visual language powered by the sages, axioms, reasons, purposes, and the missing sages. And these are the four characters that are starred in this educational game. And already there are branching paths. We will deal with today specifically the smaller side electrons, which directly follow the main electrons on the main path, rather than the side branches, which we already see 4 now. So today we will work with the Z gate challenge. And you will be scored depending on time and the number of solution gates for each of the individual puzzles, and some may also have optimizer gate keys. And there's also a tier system. Those on the higher tier require you to solve more quickly and with a fewer number of gates. And I'm not sure if the depth of the circuit is also factored. We will complete the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll complete the 6 side electrons in one go, although we technically already completed the X. So let's do this thing again. Okay, so we already completed the X. Let's move on to the Z. So let's move on to the Z gate. Okay. Here, it's going to be X, Z, and X. X to set it for Z, and then another X to put it back to the original position. Now we have X is in parallel, and we can put a Z in either the qubit 1 or qubit 2. Now we need to apply an X in parallel again, but also another Z to cancel out the Z's in parallel. Now the idea over there is similar. X, Z, X. Doesn't matter which qubit you select, as long as it's in a trio. Okay, so now you have these lock gates. Okay, here we have to place it back. So X, X, and then Z. Now we need an X to dodge the Z's. Okay, now there are Z's in parallel and series. Notice that we see like a binary tree-like structure. We definitely need the 3 X's in parallel to work. It's not going to work. Let's try if you can do it in series. So to see if we can save up. I don't think we can save up, so we will have to add another Z in parallel. Okay, the actual solution has 3 gates. Okay, now you want to apply one Z, but not both. So we try to add a X and an X. Now we see another system, much like the previous 2 puzzles. Okay, so here we need to apply an odd number of X gates, but an even number of brilliant. So 10 optimizer keys. So this is to be optimized. Okay. So this is number 6, which I did not optimize. You need to apply an even number of Z gates within an odd number of X gates. So let's skip that Z over there. So now I get some extra points. So 9. Okay, 9, we have 1001. So this, but you initially have to apply 4 X gates in a staggered series parallel way. So here we need to cancel out the inner axis while keeping the number of Z gates that follow even. Okay, here we need to cancel out, here's the thing. We need to cancel out the X gates. So here, we can add XZX over there to apply a change of color, but not a change of lane. So of course now I am 10,876. I am just below the top player for this node. We will now deal with the C gate. This one looks slightly harder. Notice that there are lower scores. Okay, here you apply a C gate to all three to skip the gates. Okay, let's apply the C gate to both. But the actual answer involves only one. So the answer is to only add the C gate on the second lane. Now we have 3 Ys in series. You can just add the control in any order, and the sigils on the left will skip all of them. Okay, now we see that first we need to skip the left and then the right. Okay, now you want to apply an X, but now we have a Y over there, so that Y and an S is being skipped. You have this colorful sequence over there, but you cannot skip. You especially cannot skip this part. So also you cannot skip the S's either. So the idea is to skip through both and then add an double X. Okay. Some of the solutions have only 2 gates. Okay, so here, notice that these 2 Ys naturally cancel out. Only that Y shouldn't be cancelled out, so let's try applying all 5 to see if this works. Or can it be optimized? Okay, the actual answer should have only 3. So let's try 101. So it has to be a 2 solution answer. Here is the actual answer. You want to let's try eliminating the x's. So the actual answer is you just here's another answer for 101. So I have a 3 gate, but there's a 2 gate solution. This one you have to have 3, so let's try applying the first 3 to see if this works. So it doesn't work. So this is the 3 gate solution. Okay, now you want to send it to 1, 2, 3 and then avoid that. Because it's the left lane, you can avoid that left half. I got a brilliant solution, so 4 gates, but interestingly enough, the 1 gate solution is also better, and more people have noticed that. So all you have to do is just add an X on the qubit 0111 on the qubit 4. So interesting enough, you don't need you actually don't need a control gate in this problem. So there is a loophole in this puzzle. This one definitely looks a bit more complex now. But can you just evade? Can you so you can take away 1 control gate. So okay. Interesting enough, there's also a critical weakness in this puzzle. Now this is just a bunch of Y's, but 0, 1, 0. So the idea is try to like eliminate one of the gates. So 0, 1, 0. Now we want to send 0, 0 all the way there. So 0, 1, 0, 1. Let's see if this is possible. Okay, and then apply 4 X's in parallel. But the actual answer has 2 gates. Some of the gates, like, they do not intend. Let's try negating the first half. Then you want to add a double X, and once again a double X. Here you go. After applying a control. So this is the, interestingly enough, it's not a good solution, but that's how it's intended to be. And I managed to go to bracket 7 this time. It's definitely harder than the previous, but hopefully I can make an optimized version. We will do with a Hadamard challenge. Notice a control gate challenge is an easy. So it's obviously slider harder than what follows. Hadamard challenge. Despite being a beginner, many players are on the lower brackets. This one is an HZH, which equates to an X, basis transform. Okay, this one looks like first you want to perform an H and then a Z. So this is a plus plus state. Are you kidding me? This is zero solution gate? That's definitely a glitch. Okay, this one is easy. HH ZZHH is the answer. So basis transform. I'll see what happened to that puzzle. Blue outside red inside without Z. But you cannot use Z anymore. So how to do that? Use an X first, and then perform an H. Flip without flips. So you want to use an okay, I've already completed this one. Okay. First, you want to flip the right half to the left half to the right half. Then you want to split this equally at the right half. But you can actually do it like anywhere because of the symmetry and the parallelism. So this solution is equally acceptable by placing the rest of the H's on the top row. This one is very easy. This one is nothing more than applying X's in terms of H and Z's to all three qubits. Okay, this one seems to look like an inflated version of the blue, red, red, blue. So now you apply an H again to split this into each of the pairs of qubit sigils into pairs of qubit sigils. Okay. This one first you want to merge. And then merge there as well. While you apply an X, but notice that this combination is a neg. Neg Z, so let's try going with this combination. Okay. So so here we can apply an H to combine the first, and then we can then combine an H on the second qubit. Now we have the all reds. Okay, so this thing definitely looks like this thing is definitely looks like a minus. So if you merge that again, you will get an X. Now we place an X again. So in series, we split it equal superposition using 3 H's in parallel. But the actual answer has 3 gates. Okay, this one is easy. X, Z, X, H. I'll see the game which I failed to complete, so it's definitely that one which I missed. But you can then apply just a Z again. Z on the first qubit to make a 3-gate solution. Now I got an optimizer key. So now I'm on bracket 7. We now have the S-gate challenge. I believe the puzzles there are easier than the H's and the C's. The C's is harder. Okay. XX, an equivalent of 3 S's in parallel. Okay. XXX and 3 S's. Okay. X S Z X. Okay. Now we can apply a Z and an S in parallel on that green sigil. Okay. Green, yellow, green. Okay. This one, the idea is very similar to the previous one, which I failed to optimize. So in this case, you want to apply a Z to reverse the colors back to green. But now there's a solution with just 2 gates. This is nothing more than the familiar SX for the yin-yangs, your first set of yin-yangs. Same idea. Okay, but you're not allowed to use X this time. So this is where basis transforms comes into play. So the qubit 1, the first qubit, performs the equivalent of an X, and then an SX on the ground qubit. Okay, so let's try applying SX in parallel. So could this form like a X-like pattern? So 3, then 6. So we have S and Z. Okay, in this case, you don't want okay. Here's the thing. You could have created yin yang over there, but if you apply an H again, we could evade this yin yang. Make the plate of green sigils. So there's a 2-qubit solution. So let's try with, it has to be 2 H's. I think that's the best way. So but there's a good number of those which have like a 2-qubit solution. Okay, let's try HZ. Okay. The only thing I have to say is you really need 3 H's to split the sigil from 1 to 8. And in a way that does not cancel each other out. So I have to say there is an update to the puzzle there. On the right without an X. So you cannot use X this time. So on the right hand side it's just the SX. On the left hand side it's an X. You want to create, this time, two sigils. Let's try cancelling this thing out. And we could then try flipping the X. So green, blue, blue, yellow. So yellow, this is going to be like 6, 3. So if this is possible, okay, green and then green. Okay, this one should be easy. But here's the thing, the deal is you can only use H's and S's. So how to do that? You have to apply an HZH on these qubits and then apply an S after. So let's finish. I'm on bracket 8, mainly like a few which I still have some trouble with. Let's try the last one, the unleash the imaginary flip. This is definitely likely the hardest because the Y gate is the last one to be introduced. It's said to be the combination gate, but let's see if I can complete this. Here, the Y gate is its own inverse, so but you're not allowed to use another Y. So how can you do that? Let's try HS. HS, then Z. HS, then let's try again. Z to flip the into a negative H. But again, you cannot use another Y. This is definitely the harder one, and you're only allowed to use one qubit. Okay, here's the idea. Use an S, then you want to apply a Z, but you can also do that. Z, and then you add an X, which is just HZH. So interesting enough, we already started with a relatively difficult puzzle. Okay. Let's try adding 2 Y's, just as guesswork. Let's try a Y and X. So it has an effect on an S. Okay. This one definitely looks easy, so Y, X, then triple H. Okay, this one, notice that the right half is green. Okay, and it seems like you can use you can just use the double Hadamard to skip through all of these, and then you can just use an X, but it's asking you to use the Y gate instead. So, interesting enough, I have 3 gates, so this is definitely, I broke the puzzle. Okay, 1101. We need just a single Y for the phase change. The rest of them are just X's. Okay, but I have a brilliant solution, but there's a 2-gate solution. over there. So 5, bring gold home. Okay. Then how can you do this with only 2 gates? So actually, again, like there has been some changes to the recent puzzles, so my solution might be, the video might be subject to an outdate. We will move on to number 6. Blue, green. All you have to do is a Y to revert back to the color. Okay. Let's try doing this on the top. Blue and then yellow. Okay. Z to enforce the 1. Now you have an S. Okay, let's try HYH to see what happens. HYH is basically the same as H, then X to turn into negative. So H then Y turns a plus into a minus. That's the other interesting effect of Y. Okay. You have this. We apply a Y, then we apply another Y, okay, so here's the thing. We have this Y, Z, Y, Y, Z, X, then H, H, H. But I demand a 5-gate solution. So 5-gate solution, let's try Y, Y, okay, now you can apply a Y. On the right side. Then split this thing off. Let's try a Y on both sides to see if this happens. Let's try a Y there. Okay. But you definitely need like 3 X's. Okay, now we have the solution. So Z goes to the right. So the Y's switch the signs and then Z reverses that. Okay, we have 1, 1. Okay, firstly we have a negative, but the Y will come into rescue. So we perform an H. The Y's try to reverse the colors from opposite to same. So it's optimized. Okay, green. you want to reverse it to red, but let's try adding a Y to save space. Now we have the easy step. So 4 H's, 3 H's, so 4 gates. We finish this. Now I am on bracket 9. So this completes our orbital 1.5, namely the challenge orbitals. The challenge electrons after the first ring electrons. And of course, I want to discuss about the extra challenge that has been introduced in May. The author of the game has revamped the 30 puzzle initial set. This time it features Paula Marie, which she is present in the original early free version of Quantum Odyssey. And the purpose of this puzzle set is purely for beginner players to sandbox with the game. Because already this game has a reputation of being difficult, and players need to be acclimatized to how the mechanics of this game works at a gameplay level rather than at a mathematical level. Just eating some drop. Before we take a break. G'day mates, this is Haumak Yangli, and I'm the G'day mates, this is Haumak Yangli, your Quantum Odyssey tour guide, and today I'm going to live stream again the initial puzzle set, the 32 puzzle set that branches immediately after completing your very first node in the story mode of Quantum Odyssey. Quantum Odyssey already has a reputation of being a difficult game, especially that it has the name of Quantum. And the creator of this game has specifically dedicated a 32 puzzle set unlocked immediately after completing the trivial very first Electron for the purposes of sandboxing and understanding the puzzle as if this game is a puzzle rather than a demonstration of quantum computing concepts. Hopefully my videos prove useful, and the most of the 50-day challenge videos will be re-recorded specifically for players to understand the game at a deep level, rather than simply use guesswork or directly using algebra if you are familiar with the linear algebra behind quantum computing. I will explain to you the solutions of the puzzles and the behavior of the various gates in a qualitative manner, so players will be able to easily visualize how the gates affect the pathing of sigils, qubits, and the overall state of the qubit array. Let's start with the initial puzzle set. Again, so notice that unveiling the forge is the very first electron, and after completing this electron, to the main path there is your cosmic keys, which is entirely another tutorial on the game itself. But there is also an extra branch that was added later to the game called Mechanics of the Fracture, which is solely created as a sandbox. There's also very few optimizer keys in this game. Paula Marie will be there. She's the lady who has narrated the game in the early version of Quantum Odyssey that is free to play and is currently still available on mobile apps. So again, this is obviously like everybody's first qubit system. Namely that the X gate flips a 0 qubit into 1 qubit, and more generically, it flips the position of the left lane and the right lane. This is a 2 qubit system. And notice that her explanations has nothing to do with anything that's narrative. It is solely a sandbox tutorial that is to be completed in an ongoing basis. Basically a practice sandbox. So we have this 2 qubit system. That means there are 4 lanes, each of them identified uniquely by a 2-bit bit string. In this case, we apply an X on qubit 1. That's the left qubit, or in place value terms, first qubit. And it transforms the state 0, 0 to 1, 0. Now we have a 3 qubit state, which is namely 0, 0, 0, and we want to transform it to 0, 1, 0. We apply an X on qubit 2, again the first qubit. Now, in the fourth exercise, you are to place 3 X's, that means flipping all 3 bits in parallel, but you can also do it in series as well. Doesn't really matter. This is your first introduction to the Z gate. The Z gate flips the sign of the sigils. That means the sign of the component of the qubit state. If it is in the 1 state, that means right lane. X switches left lane with right lane. You apply a Z, while at the same time performing an X. This, I will tell you, will be equivalent to the Y gate up to a phase shift. Same for this 2-qubit system, remember puzzle number remember number like puzzle 4, which is to flip all the qubits. Now we're doing the same for number 6, and then notice you can apply a Z gate on either the first qubit or the ground qubit, but not both, otherwise it will cancel out. Red times red is blue. Okay, here is the solution to the puzzle. So notice that in this demonstration, it's demonstrating how 2 reds in a row makes into a blue. That means okay, so I tried to click T, but it's not working. So in this case, there will be no sign change whatsoever. Here we can just apply an X on the second qubit, or qubit rank 1, to solve this puzzle. Okay, S gate also has only vertical lines. So X and S. X to switch, S to apply on the right. This one introduces you to S dagger, which converts right qubits by right lengths by turning 90 degrees in the reverse direction. Notice that neg I and I are both square roots of -1. Okay, this puzzle can be done with only 4 gates. You apply an S and Z in parallel after applying a double X in parallel. Same for the next puzzle. This new gate has a faster route to go. Can you find your way in? So the main thing is this one's learning how to make gates more efficient by reducing the number of depth. So first, you have to use an X to switch the sigil from left to right, and then a Y to switch it back to left while turning the phase 90 degrees backwards. The Y gate combines the effect of X and S. Namely, a sigil that is being applied a Y gate towards would have their direction changed by the net number of zeros into ones against ones to zeros on its bit string. This one asks you to transform a sigil on the left to sigil on the right in a 2-qubit system in only 1 depth. The answer is a Y and a Y. 2 Ys on the leftmost lane transforms 0, 0 to 1, 1. And because you're applying twice positively, so 2 zeros becomes 2 ones, the phase advances by a half turn. Okay, here we can use Y, Y, and then we can also apply a Z. the y's and the s's work together combined to produce the zero gate. The s's and the y's together to produce the desired phase change. This is your first introduction to the H gate. So notice when it's splitting, it's by the area, but when it's joining, then it is by radius addition. So now when you're joining, notice that there is interference. Sometimes the radiuses cancel out, sometimes they just add together. So it appears like when you merge two, it just suddenly disappears, and when on the other hand, it just doubles in area again. So it quadruples in area. Okay, first, color this superposition. So how can you do that? Flip to capture the colored half on 0, then color again the other on 1. Okay, so there is another solution on. So here, we H that, we X that, and then we Z again. H, then Z, X, and then Z. But let's try if you can perform a Y on that. Opposite colors. Okay, so it's going to be ZXH, ZXZ. But there's a 3-gate solution. So can you color the gate in only 3? So H. Okay, we can also do that. We can also use X, H. So there's a basis transform. Let's try a Y as well. So Y, H, Y. So this is a more efficient solution. I got an optimizer key for that. Okay, this thing looks like this is just double H in a row, but it's also done by applying an X before and then performing an H called a basis effect, which we will formally introduce this at an outer orbital. Solution here, hints. Both the rightmost and middle have an H gate in each, so there's a splitting. 1, 2, 3. So 2 for the first qubit, qubit 2, and then 1 for the qubit 1 effect. So now counting. This is your first yin-yang once again. HSH. So you merge two perpendicularly oriented sigils. This is your first entanglement. And interesting enough, you're not taught about this in ring 1. Here's another entanglement problem. HYY. It's also teaching you how to use Y's. So we can use X then H, and on the right hand apply an S. This problem is simply about dodging S gates. You can do it with an X and you can also do it with a Y. Here again, we can use X on the first, and then another X on the first and ground. Okay, but now there's a way to optimize the problem. Can you do this with only one gate? Okay, you can do it in like just one gate by using a Y on the ground qubit. So now okay, how about this? You can actually, there's actually there's actually a two-gate solution, so all you have to do is just apply a Y and an S. So cycles. So now it just cycles through all four colors. This is the negative of the psi state, psi plus state. So here we can just apply two S's in parallel, so that the middle lengths are subject to one S apiece. Same thing again. This time this one's very similar, but so we have, let's try Y, H, Y. Then we perform CX. This is a hard one, interesting enough, but once you learn, this one is nothing more than yin yang, so H, S, H. On the first qubit, so that's qubit 2. Okay, this one is nothing more than cancelling out the H's, and then performing an X on the second qubit in the form of a basis transform. Okay, this one is a combination between the yin-yang and performing the three-way split. So yin-yang, and then you can then perform a three-way split in parallel. Doesn't matter how, because there's no controlled gate involved. This is another example of superposition. So this time, if the master qubit is 1, we can just perform Y to simultaneously place the right lane to the very right and flip the side. That means rotate by 180 degrees. This is the last puzzle of the series, and of course it's going to be less easy than the rest. So, however, you have the potential to master real quantum computation. So here is the first hint: is the H's must eventually cancel out. So we can perform an HYH to negate the signs. Okay, now we have we can also try to negate the Y's as well. Okay. But now there is a negativity, so let's try adding a Z. So there's a basis transform. Okay. Now you can then apply an H to merge back together. So it's a 6-gate solution. We have finished the puzzle. I have ranked at the 10th bracket. So this concludes our entire first orbital. We will travel through the remaining second and third rings through exploring each of the individual branches. The first branch we will go through is the Clifford group. The second one is the Superposition branch, and the third one is the Entanglement branch. And also, at an ongoing basis, I might present you one bonus branch on the red path, the red electron path. And the first one after the alphabet of the universe, the next one is qubit destruction, which is surprisingly a medium. So already there is a difficulty curve if you're taking the red path. We will focus on the blue path first. The red path will be done in an ongoing basis, placed at the end of each live stream. So this concludes our live stream for today. I will make some more live streams as a side quest in response to our position as finalists in the Global Industry Challenge. So, roadmap. The roadmap is this. So Juneteenth. Around Juneteenth, I might not be available to live stream on the Juneteenth. So Juneteenth will be Unicom. This is part of my startup journey, and we will deal with the Clifford group, we have Superposition, and then we have Entanglement. So I expect that the next live stream will be done on the 18th at 20 o'clock Australian time. So stay tuned, like and subscribe to my videos and live streams, and